everyone. Welcome to another segment of CUTV News. I'm honored today to be speaking with Cyril Kamar, one of Montreal's brightest talents, hip-hop singer, and now getting into the arts, and has a beautiful gallery in Montreal that he opened recently. So I have the great pleasure today to speak to him about his career in music and his work as he progresses in other formats of the arts. So welcome to our show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to be here with you today. So I'd like to just ask you to start off, tell us a little bit about your music background and how you discovered arts and what pulled you into music.
Wow, that goes probably like more than 20 years ago. I started freestyling with my hip-hop friends. It was just for fun at the beginning, and we started doing hip-hop contests, freestyle contests, a few of them that we won when we were young. So we kind of developed that really, like, we were not doing it for a specific reason at that time. It was just to have fun and use the words, and Bright was in French at that time. And so I would say that was my first real contact with the music. And then I decided to move from freestyling to really creating songs and experimenting. Like I didn't want to at that time. I felt like hip hop was a bit, a bit too landlocked, and we had like a lot of rules that you couldn't sing or everything. We had to have like samples of 60s or 50s music, and I wanted to try to experiment, like mixing blues influence and jazz and pop, even some dance music elements into my music. So it kind of evolved like that, always experimenting, and that's what brought us a few years later to have a big success in Europe. And then everything changed, so it became more like a business. And it always been a business. Like, we always had our own label. We were our own publisher, manager. We were always independent. And for us, we considered that independent was not necessarily a music genre. It was more like a mind state that you find yourself in when you want to keep the freedom on your art and the way you created it, even on the way you market it or bring it to market. So we always did everything ourselves. And at one point, one of the songs that probably I had the most experimented on, mixing like super fast beats and up-tempo beat. Coming from a hip-hop background, it was totally different for me. And I guess I was inspired by, the Black Eyed Peas, Andre 3000, and all these artists, Outkast, that kind of opened the way for my experimentals, if I could say. And that song, From Like You, was a mix between pop and rap and soul music chords. And it ended up having a huge success, selling like 5 million records around the world. So it allowed me to go travel on all continents and meet very different people, artists, also make money, so I could reinvest in, discovering new artists and become also an executive in the music. So yeah, one thing led to another, and I became a kind of pop star without even knowing. And a few years into that, I realized that was not necessarily what I was looking for. I was more looking to experiment music and try different stuff and try to bring hip hop to new horizons and try to see how we could just do things differently. So with all this celebrity thing going on around me, I just felt like it was time for me to kind of just go back in the shadow and help other artists. And so that was it started and it ends.
That's amazing. And congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
What do you think makes Montreal very special for artists? I think we have that reputation in Canada and even across North America as being one of the really creative cities. So what do you think makes Montreal so special, and how does it inspire you?
I think being that open-minded through the generations, I think that kind of helped Montreal always be, because it was the case like way before us, like in the 60s and the 70s, Montreal had already a reputation. Then it kept on going in the 80s and in the 90s, and I think it comes because there's something about Montreal where I guess people are more into creating than what they look at when they create, because there's a lot of big cities where what you look at creating or what you create becomes more important than really what you stand for while you create. And Montreal has that I don't know if I can call that like a hipster, very independent, cool-minded, and I guess it really gets something really favorable for creation, whether it's in the video games or movies or music or art. And also, I think we don't have to forget the quality of life that we have here that has nothing to do with creativity, but that puts you in a kind of peace of mind that you don't necessarily find in New York, you don't find in Paris or in Milan, where the pressure of the city and everybody gets along in Montreal, and the immigration is very well integrated. So it right away there, it takes off a lot of pressure points that you can find in other cities that you don't have in Montreal. So it leaves you that kind of coolness to just have ideas and, you know, try to go to the fullest of your idea.
That's very well said. I agree with you on that. And we have that something, that je ne sais quoi, that spark that, it really just motivates people. It inspires them to reach for higher heights.
Yeah, no pressure.
That's true. So tell us a little bit about your new art gallery and what is your mandate with it? What would you like to accomplish?
I mean, honestly, I've been in the, let's say, in the art scene backgrounds for more than a decade now, as a collector, as a helper for a lot of artists, sometimes as a translator for some of the galleries that were not getting really the right codes or the right languages with their artists. And my job was to try to figure out, coming from both ends of the business, the creative part and the business part. Sometimes I used to just be like a mediator between artists and some galleries, but always like as an independent, free element that was going around the art scene. And at one point, getting older, I was like, maybe I should try to get closer to my artists, basically, and have that role that I always refused up to now to have. Maybe because I've seen some stuff in the galleries that I didn't like, and I've seen some relationships between artists and galleries that I was like, wait a minute, I mean, there's something wrong with that, just like I've seen in the music so much.
Yes.
And when we see how the music scene and business evolved creatively and businessly, I think where it's same thing happening in the art scene right now. An artist is an artist. A creativity is a creativity. Whether you express your format on your creativity on A format or B format, it's just a way of expressing yourself. But at the end of the day, artists have the same problems, same worries, and they tend to how can we say that, to go and find the same kind of reassuring people they want to work with. And so I was like, how come I've been doing so much in the music for the past 20 years, building labels and management companies and making sure that we don't get too institution and we stay and remain free and independent and we protect our playfield. I was like, how come I've been involved in art for 10 to 15 years now and I'm not doing the same thing in art? Some artists started asking me like, why don't you just open a gallery? We would like to work with you. We share the same background. I mean, an artist opening an art gallery makes more sense than anything else.
Yeah.
So it kind of marinated in my head for a minute and I was not ready. And then I was scared that if I made that jump, I would be not liking what I'm doing, like whatever I've seen in some of the galleries, not all the galleries, but some of the galleries. So, and also because I think that we have to do something if we don't want at one point that everything gets so institution that we, at the end of the day, we might have to ask for permission to get into our playfield. And at one point, I think it's not right. So I called my artist and I said, okay, I know you've been asking me for a minute, but what if I just do it? And they were like, man, we're there. So I was so touched by the quality and the response of my artist and the quality of the talent that I had around me. And my wife jumped on board also because it was a family thing. that's what we called it, Maison K.A, because we are a gallery at the end of the day, but we're so much more than a gallery, I feel, without no pretension. I mean, this is just the way that we felt like doing it with our artists, among artists, with the people, and not necessarily having a goal. But I would say the mandate would be for us to be like we've been in the music business, you know, independent, free to move how we feel to move, and not necessarily listening to the rules or whatever, whoever said that it should work like that. We don't forget ever that this is our playfield and we want to keep it to ours.
Oh, that's very nice. How did you come up with the name of the gallery? What does it mean?
Well, the name of the gallery is the kind of keep through road of what I just said. It's like K.A is a manga that we imagine. You will probably never see him drawn or pictured or whatever. It's just a manga that we imagined with a few of our creative entourage. And it's basically, a manga that his role is to defend creatives and creativity. And just make sure that if there are unwelcome people that decide because they're rich or powerful or because they know a lot of people, that they decide to come totally from outside of these with no credibility at all, he can do them harm. You know. So yeah, he's a kind of fighter for freedom and very artist and creative oriented. So as I said, it's just an inspiration for me, for our team, for our artists, and we look at K.A like a superhero that helps us in our fight.
That's awesome. What has been the reaction from the public that has come to visit your gallery, and what has been the reaction of the artists to see their work displayed in your gallery?
I mean, probably that's the most fantastic thing, is that when you really have a purpose in behind your mind, when you do something, you're always looking for a purpose. It's not just to say, okay, I'm going to open a gallery and make money, or I'm going to open a gallery and look cool. That's the most fantastic thing that happens, is as if people walk in and they feel that, you know what I mean? They feel that there was a purpose behind it. The DNA, our family, the way we're tied together makes, first of all, the artist feels good. We try to have a very narrowed curation and very specific, and we're very picky with ourselves. Same thing for the artists. So they feel like they're really in their home, in their house. They're part of that K.A collective. And when you have that, and I was speaking about that relation that we have, the very specific relation that we have with our creatives, being creators ourselves. I guess when public walk in the gallery, they feel that. And that's what they've been telling us since we're open, is that there's a kind of special vibration in here. We feel those ties you have among each other. Everyone imagine that little K.A manga persona, and they're like, okay, I totally understand what you guys stands for. And they feel, after like 5-10 minutes in the gallery, they feel like part of that movement and part of that family. So that's what I was saying, that we tend to bring this like further from a white cube, a gallery with art. It's all about the artist, what we stand for, what we're fighting for. And I guess that's what people been telling us when they walk in the galleries, that they feel that it's a special spot and there's a special vibration. So, I mean, for us, that's the best thing you could tell us.
How important do you think art is for young people, especially? Like, I've grown up with art, being an artist myself, discovered a lot of great outlets for creativity that way. So have you, and many people at Concordia as well, and Miguel, who, make careers sometimes out of their art as well. But looking at the young people today with social media, they're growing up differently than we did. So how important do you think art is for young people to embrace, and what that can bring to them?
I think it's not important. I think it's essential. That's why one of the mandate of the gallery also is to be able to cater to a younger audience. It's very important for everyone to feel comfortable walking in the gallery. I mean, this is not a luxury store. This is not Louboutin or Louis Vuitton or whatever. We always try to have a lot of gathering in here because we want the young people to be part of our family too and come in, and not to, some of the people cannot afford some of the art. We always tend to have pieces for everyone, and our creation think about the young people also, because I mean it helps you kind of formate your head and the way you think and your philosophical thinking. Everyone could look at an art piece and have a different explanation, inspiration, and I think it's totally important that from time to time you get off those screens and phones and Netflix and all of that, and find yourself alone in front of an art piece, and try to see what it brings to you, what kind of idea it gives you, the lecture that you have out of it. And I think there's a study, I'm not going to say because I'm not sure, but there's a study that was done recently, I think last year, that says how art modifies your thinking on everything that is more practical. Because of the colors, because of the shapes, because of the different proposition that all the artists are putting on the walls, it makes especially the young people more interested in details, and they want to know more from the story of the art history, all the way to just the more abstract, cool thing about art is that there's no explanation. You have to find, we could tell you what was the inspiration the artist had when he did the piece, but then the whole thing is how are you going to interpret it, and what kind of story you're going to make for yourself. So the imagination that it puts in your head, and that purpose of loving art and getting to know more about it, when you start having this at a young age, anywhere after, even at 15 or at 12, and my daughter is 2.5 years, and I bring her to museum with me in galleries all the time, and I can see that she's looking at the colors. So there's no age to start, but the youngest you can start, the best it is for your creativity and imagination.
That's very well said. So now let's do a little quick rapid fire questions. So what is your favorite thing about Montreal?
I would say the coolness of people.
And the creativity, it's true, eh? There's something special with
I mean, the coolest you are with your life, and you're not stressed, and everybody's cool, and there's no, then you become creative, and then you have ideas, and you try to go to the fullest of your ideas, and that's super cool in Montreal.
What's your favorite Montreal restaurant?
Wow, there's so many, honestly, I couldn't.
We're really lucky, eh?
Yeah, it's like all those, because sometimes it's not like big institutional restaurant, like sometimes it's small little spots, maybe fits like 30 people max, and you get in there and everyone's so cool, and it's good food and good vibes. So I couldn't pinpoint like one. There's a Lebanese restaurant for which I have a specific like love forever. It's called La Sirène.
Yes,
and it's like probably my favorite restaurant. But because I go there with my family and my close friends, and I eat the food from my country, and it reminds me of all those good times when I was a kid. But honestly, there's like so many good restaurants somewhere. We're very lucky with that.
We are very fortunate. What's your favorite vacation spot when you are out of your work zone and just want to chill with the family? What's your spot to go to?
Honestly, like I love going on vacation from time to time, but I would say that my favorite spot when I need to like retire with my family, I would say is countryside. I don't need to go to the beach. I mean, I love to do it like everyone, go get a little bit of sun, but having the quietness of the countryside around the lake, the silence. And yeah, it's probably my favorite spot to retire. And it sounds old but
it's wise. It's wise.
I don't know if it's wise, but it's this is where I get the most. Mature. It's where I get the most quality time with my family, I would say.
That's amazing. What's a great book that you've read recently that you would like to recommend to people?
You know what? I read it many times, but I just got back to it. Le Prophète from Khalil Gibran. I mean, it's a must read. It's something that, I don't know, it's because of all what's happening right now in the Middle East that is, putting me in so much questions and so much pain, and it's very saddening to see what's going on. And I'm trying to find answers. And like everybody, I mean, I'm too stupid to be able to have a clear vision of what's going on. It seems so complicated that I felt the need of going back to that book that I really recommend to anyone that is trying to have a quest of spiritual answers like I'm doing, because it's fantastic. It's poetry, but poetry straight on our everyday values of life. So yeah, I recommend it.
Okay. 2 artists on your playlist.
Right now?
Yes. What are you listening to? What's got you inspired?
Actually, you know what? I'm listening to the new P. Diddy album.
Yeah.
Because it's very surprising. I'm not saying that P. Diddy is a fantastic, entertainer, but I was not so much into his albums. Like, I was not gonna, say, okay, P. Diddy just released an album, I need to go listen to that. But his last album, I feel that it's so soulish and soulful, and there's I'm just feeling that 290, 2000 vibes in there, and it's really actually pretty good. I like it a lot.
Nice.
And what's the second one? It's not an album actually. It's a jazz compilation that is out on Spotify. I forgot the name, but you can find it. It's a blue cover, and it's kind of revisiting the big jazz classics, but only with acoustic instruments. It's pretty fantastic. I'd say those are the 2 I'm on right now. Probably gonna switch next week, but
very cool. And just to conclude, advice to youngsters today. So what would you tell youngsters today? Just any kind of advice, whether for education or for arts, what would you tell them?
Well, first thing first is to do not consider, remember back in the days we used to consider that being educated was kind of geeky, or, you're not cool when you're too educated. That's over. Like for the first advice is read books, get educated, but not just like, don't stock knowledge that you just go and general education. It's just like, try to be interested in a lot of things and read those books and try to get those education, the good manners. That's cool right now. So that's the first thing, because it opens a lot of doors. Then the second thing is just, you have to believe in what you do, and don't ever forget that what you do is your playground. So I'm always talking about that regularly, and that's one of the mandate of the galleries. Like, it doesn't mean that if someone comes and puts the money on what you do, it means that he knows and he has the rules of what you do. What you do has its own rules and own freedom, and you have to protect that to all costs. At all costs, you have to make sure that your playground remains your playground. And that's what I'm talking about, independent and freedom. At the time where you cannot express what you wanted freely, because you had to modify it in a way, or you wanted to please, the freedom of what you're expressing as your creative journey has to remain at all time. And then if you're true to that and you believe in yourself, at one point it's going to bring you somewhere. It doesn't matter where, but it's going to land somewhere and people are going to like it. And that's the debut of a, exchange process around your ideas. But keep it like free all the time. No one should ever tell you how to do it or when to do it. You can take advices, think about it, but then just go how you feel and remain free all the time.
A true artist. That's a great piece of advice, even for adults. I'm inspired by that too. It works for everyone.
It works for everyone. It's magical.
Thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you everyone for tuning in to another segment of CUTV News. We'll see you next time.